he says of himself that he is a Chinese literatus, a modern day Chinese literatus, and what is this connection to the tradition or history? I think one point he makes himself in, which is very good, that there is no past and present or future. He is always in the present.
Many artists that I saw before during my trip were just trying to make art in a completely new way, like starting at zero, forgetting Chinese history and past and memory, and just trying to do something from scratch, very new. And he was relying on the past of China, and that I found very interesting, because I think for most of the artists, the link, the relation with the past and with the history is very, very important. He can change it in any way or transform it in very many different ways, but this relation for me is very important.
As a young artist, Jiechang came from the cultural periphery, Deng Xiaoping's China of the mid-late 1980s, to the cultural center, Western Europe. His first appearance in Europe was his participation in the exhibition Les Magiciens de la Terre at the Centre Georges Pompidou in Paris in 1989.
他唯一能承认他自己的东西，就是他的文化的和他身份最基本的因素，就是水、墨、纸和这个涂墨和涂水在纸上的过程。
He has so many ways of painting, so many styles. It's amazing. I mean, how different these things are, which he does, and they are. If you wouldn't know, you wouldn't think this is by the same man. It's not the same style. It's a very different styles, and he does not only painting, he does these installations, he does sculpture. So he is very versatile, but all these different parts of his art come down to this foundation, I think, of calligraphy.
The panoramas depicted in the Tale of the 11th Day series rely on classical models stemming from the canon of traditional Chinese landscape painting. They suggest a kind of universal, eternal landscape. Young's image of a land where impartial communication and action is possible can be read as an allegory of a globalized world, yet one that is based on equality, on mutual respect and on compassion. Tale of the 11th Day represents this kind of age-old dream. Similar to Boccaccio's Decamerone, which is a collection of stories told in times of the Black Death, Young's Central Paradise is imagined in a time of crisis and conflict. Equality, respect, compassion, love and harmony have unstable relations. Once the balance between the big and the small, the strong and the weak, the one on top and the one below are jeopardized, they turn into disparity, contempt, indifference, hate and aggression. Tale of the 11th Day reminds us that even though all beings are interconnected in an essential unity of existence, harmony is still based on power play. The beauty and the potential of it all resides in the instability of the balance that has to be defined and redefined through every individual act.
There are tremendous changes over these 30 years, and I'm amazed and impressed by the creativity of what he comes up with. He always, not always, but I mean, he always he finds new ways of expression and new areas where he works. Like for example, I mean, this kind of thing, these Gungbi Paradise paintings he did not do 30 years ago, or these wonderful paintings he didn't do. So he always thinks of something new, and then he does it for a while. He does this for a while, and he explores the possibility of this new subject or even of this new technique. So this is something very impressive, because there are many artists who have one scheme and they invent some kind of trademark, and then they paint their whole life. They paint all the time. They paint the same thing. And Yang Jiechang is very different.
I think the characteristics of Yang Jiechang, first of all, during many years for me, were that he was very difficult to follow in a way, because he was changing so much. He was doing very different things, which is very positive, because this is what an artist should do. He should be free to surprise us and to follow new directions. And we have always a tendency to, we as viewers, to see a sort of consistency in the work of an artist and an evolution, but sometimes it's totally chaotic, and it's normal. It should be like that. And so, well, for me, sometimes when I went to his studios, some years after Magicien de la Terre, I was quite surprised to see what he was doing. Now, with the time, of course, I understand it much more easier, you know. And now I can understand it also in a sort of logic way. But at that time, it was sometimes the way he finds his ideas, which are quite universal very often, which is also quite interesting, is through very unusual ways of thinking, and this is also very interesting.
Oh dear, my God.